Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Respect Code. My name is Jeanell Greene, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge those of you who are watching and joining us. I get that you could be anywhere right now and you are here because you want to learn, right? So thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. So I want to start by first saying that this is not therapy. So there's no need to speak, there's no need to share here. This is really about teaching you and you learning some tools, strategies, and skills that are really going to make the difference in your marriage. So let's get into it. Now, what I do wish though is that if you guys would participate in the chat, it just helps us to keep it engaged and retain and helps you retain the information better. It also helps to keep the energy up. So, and I really my invitation to you today is to be open to learning, to growing, and taking what relates to you in this conversation and leaving the rest if it doesn't really make sense. And I really encourage you to take notes today because there's gonna be a lot of information that I'll be dropping in the next 60 minutes. So yeah, I really recommend that. And by the way, this call is being recorded for training purposes only. So we'll be covering a lot of material today. So why don't we just dive in? And oh, sorry, one last thing. Tomorrow we'll be doing a Q&A event. If anybody wants to join and has any questions about what I'm about to present on, you are more than welcome to join us, and we'll provide that information a little bit later. Okay? All right. So you might be wondering, who am I? Well, my name is Jeanell, and I'm a relationship rebuild expert and a men's emotional leadership coach. And I've worked with hundreds of people, teaching them the tools and strategies that I'm going to be teaching you today and giving them what they need in that exact moment in their life to help them shift their relationship from broken to best friends or from roommates to playmates. So, again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I am what they call a coach. And really, this is all about creating the life that you want. So I'm not here to judge you or assess you or tell you that you're bad or wrong. I'm here to help you fill in the gaps, to show you maybe what's been missing or give you the tools that you need in order to make the difference that you want to make in your relationship. Now, there are different groups of people that might be watching this. Some of you are husbands, some of you are happily married, some of you aren't, some of you might be in a relationship, and some of you might be separated or divorced or something in between. And you might be asking yourself, well, Jeanell, am I in the right place? Am I going to get anything from this? And the answer is yes. There's always room to grow. And even if some of this is things that you know, knowledge makes no difference, right? It's about the implementation. So this could just be some of this could just be a reminder for you. Regardless, my promise to you is that you leave today with something, some big aha or takeaway that is going to make the difference in your relationships. All right. So if you're ready, I want you to type in the chat the word ready. Okay, awesome. All right. So who wants more affection, more love, more connection? Type yes in the chat. And if you want to understand women better, or your wife or partner better, please type yes in the chat. Yes, okay. And if you want to feel more confident about how to handle difficult situations and conversations with common ease, if that's what you want, type yes. in the chat below. Awesome. Thanks, guys. And who wants all of it? Like all of that? If that is you, type the word all in the chat. Yeah. Because here's the thing, when you can be her rock, help her stay grounded, and be her anchor when she's feeling emotionally flooded, you literally become her hero. Because really, that's all she wants. And at the end of the day, that's all what we want, right? To have a partner that we can depend on and rely on, especially when life is kicking our butt, knowing that we don't have to go through it alone. And when you can show her that you are the person that she can trust, she will follow your lead. Does that make sense? So I really want you to get, you are not alone. You are not broken. It's not your fault if you've been messing up a lot lately, because no one ever showed you this until now. And that's why I'm so excited to be with you today. So here's what you can expect today. Whoops. So by the end of this hour, I'll be revealing why love alone and good intentions aren't enough to create a meaningful and lasting marriage or relationship, and why we keep repeating the same arguments, and why we can't let go of the past. And also what women actually want and need from you. And number 4, how to have her respect and trust you. And number 5, why change is so hard, and the missing piece that you need in order to cause change in your life. So I created this workshop after working with so many couples and men and seeing some of the patterns and the common mistakes and the misunderstandings and habits that destroy the love and the trust and the intimacy and the respect. And they are things that could have easily been prevented. So that's really what I want to talk about today. And all I ask is that you keep an open mind. And then I invite you to ask yourself, how can this be applied to my own life or relationship? And listen, if you're thinking to yourself, well, Jeanell, my relationship is actually okay. Is this gonna, help me? Absolutely. Your relationship can always be better. And again, knowing is just the first step. So many of you are meeting me for the first time. So do you mind if I tell you a little bit about myself? Okay, great. Thank you so much. So yeah, my name is Jeanell, as I mentioned, and I live in Vancouver, Canada, with my lovely husband, Michael, and we've been happily married for 20 years. And we've been able to create the most beautiful partnership. And we're best friends. We're playmates. We're teammates. We're just, yeah, we're just two kids who love being together. And, but my relationships weren't always this successful or happy. Mm, my first marriage ended after 5 years. And, after it ended, it was a wake-up call for me. And it forced me to look at myself and look at my own patterns. And what I saw was the common denominator was me. And so then I started to ask questions like, how did that even happen? Why did I even marry him? And what can I learn from this? And in doing the work and really paying attention and continuing to do the digging, right? The inner work, going beyond the surface, what I saw was, you know, who I saw myself as at that time was unworthy, unlovable. And it brought me back to the day that my father left when I was 9. And I knew that if I were to attract a healthy and happy relationship and find peace and healing in, in our father leaving and then passing away, I needed to forgive him. And I needed to forgive my 9-year-old self who made up these stories watching her dad leave that day, that she was unlovable and that she couldn't trust men and that eventually everybody would leave her. And by the way, I didn't do any counseling or therapy during this 25-year period. This was all transformative work. And so, I wanted to take a more practical and skill-based approach. So this is why I believe in this method so much, because I'm not just talking about it with you right now. Like, I've lived it. I've gone through it. I know what that's like to feel stuck, to feel hopeless, to feel broken, because of something that happened and something that I really had no control over, especially as a 9-year-old. But somehow we blame ourselves. Uh, and I'm sure maybe some of you can relate to this to this as well. So now I've created this amazing business that has really been a self-expression of my love and helping others who are going through a similar experience that I went through and giving them the guidance and the compassion and the tools to get on the other side of it. And, what I really love is helping people create a life worth living and a legacy worth remembering. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about me, let's talk about you and why you're here. So, the first secret to becoming the husband that she loves, trusts, and respects is this is to discover your patterns. So, one of the reasons so many couples struggle is that they're focused on the wrong thing, on the wrong problem. They think that the problem is that they fight too much, or the lack of communication, or the lack of intimacy, or even infidelity. They think that is actually the problem. But consider the problem that we think is rarely the real problem. Rather, it is just a symptom of something else that we haven't identified yet. And it's not the core issue. And so a lot of times people are trying to fix the wrong problem. So let me explain it to you in this way. So I want you to imagine an iceberg, okay? Most people only pay attention to the part above the water, not realizing that this is just the tip. And the majority of the iceberg is hidden underneath the surface. So what people think is the problem is rarely the actual problem. The real problem, the real issues, the core issues underneath that's being hidden are the wounds, the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, of being alone, the fear of not being enough. It could also look like unresolved pain from the past or trauma from childhood. What could be there too is anxiety and feeling unsafe or feeling like a lack of respect in the relationship. So if you're finding yourself having the same arguments and you've been doing everything that you can and it's not working, it's not helping, I want you to get it's not your fault after what I just said, because you just didn't know. You didn't know any different and you were working on the wrong problem. Now you can see why it hasn't worked, because this has been hidden from your view. And that's what we call your blind spot. So imagine you're learning to drive for the first time, but the instructor forgets to explain your blind spots to you and doesn't even tell you that you have one. What do you think might happen? Write it in the chat. Yeah, you would probably crash, right? And you'd probably say something like, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. So I want you to take a moment and just look within yourself, like, what might your blind spots be? And write that. And I invite you to actually write that question down. And if the answer comes to you, I invite you to write that down too. Because here's the thing, you can't change what you can't see. And if you're focused on the wrong problem, you're always going to be stuck. Now, I'm just curious, did anyone right now just had a light bulb moment, like an aha? Just curious. Thank you. Yeah, give me your thumbs up. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, love it. Okay, so now that we've identified that we have a blind spot that we didn't even know we had, if we look a little closer, what you'll find are your hidden barriers to love. And these are the 5. Number 1 is conditioning. This is what you learned as a child, what you were told growing up. Number 2 is emotional pain. This is the unresolved wounds and hurt that have been carried forward through the years, even decades, that still affect you today. Number 3 is fear, right? Fear of rejection, being not enough, being alone, fear of abandonment. Number 4 is ego. This is the part of us that wants to defend, that wants to be right, that wants to control and dominate, and also the part of us that wants to be liked, to people please, to get approval from others. And number 5 is protection. This is your fight, flight, freeze, fawn phenomenon. And this includes, numbing out, shutting down, running away, avoiding, withdrawal. So because of this, I actually created a discovery guide to help people determine what's actually their hidden barriers to love, and specifically in each category, what those are. And so this is an example of some of the tools I use to help people better understand themselves and why we are the way we are. So we're going to drop the link here. Now, because you're here, you actually get, this is my free gift to you. Now, normally you would have to be in my program to get this, but because you're here today, you actually get a copy. So we're going to put that link down at the bottom in the chat. And because, yeah, just for showing up today, you get that. It's awesome. So go ahead and download that now. And then after the session, I invite you to go through this and see what you discover newly. So which one of these barriers might be influencing your relationships the most? Is it conditioning? Is it emotional pain? Is it fear, ego, or protection? So here are those 5 again on the screen. So tell me, which one do you see making the biggest impact on your life right now? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Or if you want to call it by name, it's conditioning. Is it emotional pain? Is it fear? Is it ego? Or is it your protection mechanism? And yes, we all have these barriers in each of us, absolutely. But which one of them stands out that you know right away is affecting you the most? Okay, cool. Let's move on. So step number 1 was about seeing your patterns, but what actually happens when somebody pushes your buttons or triggers you. And that's what secret number 2 is all about. So secret number 2, learn to respond instead of react. Because becoming aware of your patterns is powerful, but awareness alone does not make the changes in your relationship. So the question is, what do you do? when you're triggered. Because it's easy to be loving, to listen when things are good. The real test happens when you're feeling judged, criticized, or blamed. When you feel misunderstood, when you're frustrated, when you feel unappreciated, when you feel rejected, or when you're feeling hurt. That's when the old patterns want to kick in. But there's this tiny space between the event that happens or whatever is said or done and what you do next. And this space is very small. Often it's in a nanosecond, right? So instead of that knee-jerk reaction of defensiveness or yelling or shutting down, you have this split second to choose something else. And that's where your power lies. And you may not be able to avoid getting triggered, but you can learn to choose a different response. And this is where emotional leadership actually begins. So let me explain to you what actually happens when we get triggered. So here are the facts. Our brain and our nervous system are designed to protect you. There is fight, right? That's like attack, that's argue and yell, that's blame. Then there's flight, that's to withdraw, to leave, to go silent. Then there's freeze, and that's when we shut down, go numb, check out, disassociate mentally and emotionally. Or we defend, we go into explaining and justifying and deflecting. There's fix, which is, your fixers, your problem solvers, right? You try to go and you try to fix the problem or control the problem. And then there's also people pleasing. That's, when we just agree, just to keep the peace, to appease and avoid conflict. And none of these mean that you're a bad person. They're just learned protection strategies. And the problem is that you can't protect yourself and truly experience connection at the same time. And that's why two people who genuinely love each other can suddenly feel like enemies during a conflict. So the goal isn't to never get triggered because, let's be honest, it happens, right? We aren't monks, and I'm sure even they get triggered, right? But, and for me, oh, sorry. And so, it's unrealistic to never get triggered. And what there is just to recognize, like, okay, I'm being triggered right now, and my pattern is kicking in, right? That mechanism is kicking in. So, for example, for me, when I was a kid, I got bullied a lot because I'm small. I was asthmatic, I was skinny, I had glasses, I had braces, I was smart. So yeah, I was always getting bullied. And so because I'm so small, my mouth was my weapon. And so I noticed early on in my marriage is when I would get really frustrated, I would say something that wasn't true, or I don't even know where it came from. Like it was just this knee-jerk reaction. And when I really looked at it, I saw that these moments reminded me of being bullied. And so that was my knee-jerk reaction. But as soon as I saw that that was what was running the show, was this memory that was triggering a response, now I could actually choose to respond a different way. And, this is about, really being able to control that in that moment, in that split second, to choose something different and lead yourself. And here's the thing, you cannot control your partner. You can't control what they do, what they say, how they think, but you can learn to manage what happens inside of you and choose how you want to respond. And sometimes it means taking a moment to pause and think about how you're going to respond instead of just reacting. Sometimes it's listening instead of fixing or defending. And sometimes it's just being honest and saying, hey, listen, I'm super triggered right now, and I don't want to say anything that I'm going to regret. So can we just take 5 minutes and come back to this later? And sometimes emotional leadership means setting healthy boundaries and being clear about what has integrity for you, what works, what doesn't work, and being able to communicate that to one another calmly and kindly. And that takes real strength, because emotional leadership isn't about never having emotions. It's about not letting your emotions control you. And here's a pattern that I see all the time with men that can seem like emotional control, but actually creates more distance. And I call this the peace trap. And you can see that here on the left. A lot of people believe that keeping the peace is the same thing as having a healthy relationship, because they're like, we're not fighting. It's actually not. One big difference that I've seen working with men versus women is that a lot of men grew up believing that peace was the only objective and was the most important thing to having a happy marriage and a happy wife. And that they shouldn't rock the boat, that they should just agree, and that they should keep their feelings to themselves. So they shut down, they disconnect, and then the resentment starts to grow for both people, because she's now thinking, well, he's not actually listening to me. He's avoiding these conversations. He's deflecting, when really what he just wants is peace. But she sees that as something else. And slowly, men start to lose themselves and their identity, their self-respect, and their self-worth. And in the end, they actually usually lose the relationship as well. So avoidance says, I don't want to deal with this right now because I don't want to start a fight. A healthy pause, an emotional leader says, this matters enough that I want to deal with it in a calmly and mature manner. So when conflict happens in your relationship, what pattern tends to show up for you first? Do you fight? Do you shut down? Like flight? Do you take off and avoid or run away emotionally or physically? Do you immediately try to fix it and just people please to make the tension go away? Again, we're not here to judge it. We're just here to notice it. Because awareness is the first step to causing real change in a relationship. Because if you don't know what the problem is, how are you going to change it? Right? So, secret number 3, become someone she can trust. And this one is incredibly important because you cannot demand trust. You can't say, you should trust me by now. You can't argue someone into trusting you or convincing them. Trust is built and rebuilt in small moments, consistently over time. It's doing what you said you were going to do. It's owning your mistakes instead of defending them or justifying them. It's telling the truth when the truth is really uncomfortable. And it's becoming predictable in the best possible way. And over time, the other person starts to think to themselves, okay, you know what? It's safe to trust you because I trust that you love me and you won't hurt me. And I can let my guard down. That's where the trust begins to come back. And underneath trust is something that women, well, actually everyone, all human beings, need in order to stay deeply connected. And that is emotional safety. So, what does emotional safety actually mean? Well, it kind of means that someone can say or think, you know what, I can be honest with you without having to worry about being judged or punished for being myself. I can tell you how I feel, and I can trust that you're at least going to try to be open and understand me. So people trust people who make them feel safe. I want you to think about someone right now in your life who makes you feel this way. And now I want you to look at this list and check to see if they have all or most of these traits. So, someone who is, when we feel emotionally safe, they listen, they're curious, they're present, they make us feel important, and we feel connected. We experience compassion and empathy when we speak to them. And they have integrity and they're able to communicate. And they're humble and responsible. And so they're able to really, own whatever it is that they've done, purposely or not purposely, to hurt you. And they're kind and caring. So if that is who you want to be, and if you know that that's what your partner wants, that is what it's required. And that's what we need to work towards. Now, you might all know this already, but what we're talking about here is, why are we not that? Why is it so hard? Because it's not, they're not complicated, right? But they're actually really powerful when they're practiced. So how do you actually build or rebuild trust? It's in the small moments. Trust isn't usually built through one big grand gesture. It's built through consistency and integrity over and over again. It's saying you're going to do something and then actually doing it when you said you were going to do it. It's following through when nobody's reminding you, when nobody's watching, when nobody's bugging you to do something. And it's owning it when you screw up instead of making excuses or blaming or defending yourself. And here's something that's actually really important. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. But when you do, can you recognize it? Can you take responsibility? Can you repair it? And can you make a different choice next time? Because healthy and lasting relationships begin with self-leadership. So I just want to check in. Thanks. So I just want to check in with everybody. Was today's session valuable? Please tell me in the chat. I'd love to hear. Did you learn anything new today that you might find useful moving forward? What was your biggest takeaway so far? I would love to know. Or, what section or thought did you find most valuable for you? But here's the thing. Knowledge is not power. Information doesn't create transformation. Action, implementation does. Because understanding something is one thing, and actually doing it, especially when you're triggered, you're angry, and you're hurt, that's something completely different entirely. And that's really the difference between information and transformation. And listen, I get it. Changing is hard. It's hard to change habits that you've had on autopilot for years. So, why? If we really look deeply, why is change really hard? Because we love familiarity. We're designed for comfort. We like things that are familiar and easy. And we love feeling safe and secure. So eventually, we create our natural patterns, which develop over years, all designed to keep us the same and to avoid change. And stress pulls us back to what we know and feel safe, even though we hate it. It's unhealthy and it's painful. But here's the real reason change is hard because it requires us to go beyond our comfort zone. Growth, the next version of us we've never seen before. And there's some fear around that. We don't actually know who this person is yet, right? And that fear, that discomfort is actually what has us keep coming back. And we all experience this, right? And of course, fear, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, that's heavy. And so we will always come back unless we have an accountability partner or something that is pulling us forward. We're always going to go back to being the same. And so if you've been trying to change and you can't seem to make it stick, or your partner is complaining that you promised to change and you did it for a little bit, but then you went back to the way you were, I just want you to get it's not your fault. It's super normal. And you're not alone in this. I also am dealing with that around my health, around, losing weight. I know I need to lose weight, but there's a comfort in this body. There's a comfort. It's like, even at something like, well, if I lose 20 pounds, that means I need to go buy new clothes. And I don't want to spend all that money on new clothes. So I'm just going to stay the same, even though I don't want to stay the same. Right. And we have some sort of version of that. So again, it's not your fault. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You just didn't know this stuff. And now you know. But knowing is very different than doing. And you came here today because something in you wants change, want more, want different. So please don't let today's ahas and takeaways and valuable golden nuggets just be this thing that, after you leave the session is going to be, buried somewhere. And I was like, yeah, that was great. And instead, what you should have done is taken an action. So my invitation to you is to do something with what you learned today, to take an action, even just sharing one thing that you learned with your partner or someone you care about creates connection and also deepens these distinctions that you are learning today. So let's talk about the missing piece necessary for change. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They try a few times, but it doesn't feel good, or they get frustrated and then they stop. And to be honest, this is one of the reasons a lot of women file for divorce. It's when they see no change. They're promised that the change is going to happen, but then either nothing happens or it goes back to the way it was. And eventually she just kind of gives up and she stops complaining So her partner might be like, oh, yay, okay, she's good now. But often that is the sign that she's given up hope and she's given up and she no longer has trust or respect. She thinks to herself, well, what's the point? He doesn't listen anyway, or he doesn't care, or he's just lazy. Or she'll say, he's never going to change. And I'm all alone and I can't rely on him. So why do I even have him around? And this is how it all starts, guys. This is what I see and hear over and over and over again. And this is why I'm so passionate about helping men, because marriages don't need to end if men and women were better equipped to deal and support their partners. And so that's why I did this workshop today. So, summary of the key takeaways. So today we talked about problems versus symptoms. We talked about blind spots and the barriers to love. We talked about, learning to pause before responding. We talked a little bit about emotional leadership, how trust and emotional safety are created. We talked about change and why it's so hard and the formula to do so. And we also talked about the peace trap. Now, as you can see, there's one here, the last one that we haven't clicked yet. And that is learning to implement strategies and consistently live these principles every day and become the person, the man that you'd hope to be. So, what if there was a solution, a framework that would help you do all of this easily and you didn't have to do it alone? And that's exactly why I created my Relationship Rebuild Blueprint program for men. Because you don't need more, but to help you actually implement what you're learning with a clear roadmap, support, tools, and accountability. So, would it be okay with you if I take 5 minutes to show you how I help men do that? Okay, thank you. And listen, this isn't going to be for everyone, and that's okay. But for some of you, this might be exactly what you need, what you've been praying for, hoping for, looking for. So, this is the Relationship Rebuild Blueprint. It is a live coaching online program that includes a step-by-step guided framework designed to create lasting transformation in all areas of your life. For those that are ready to grow, change, and understand how to be with a woman and how to become the man that she needs and wants. And you probably know that your relationship can be really great. And maybe you just need some guidance, you need some tools and some confidence, some encouragement, and some support. And hey, because I'm a woman, I'm going to tell you things that nobody else will ever tell you or explain to you in a way that really makes a difference in your relationships. So, here are the 3 phases of the program. It is, sorry. So, phase 1 is clarity. Because before you can change anything, you have to understand what you're actually dealing with. So, step 1 is recognize your patterns. And we started to do a little bit of that today. We identify the behaviors, the reactions, and the reoccurring cycles that keep showing up in your life. Step 2 is uncover your hidden barriers to love. This is where we go deeper into those 5 areas that we talked about: the conditioning, the emotional pain, the fears, the ego, and the protection strategies that we had talked about earlier today. We started to uncover what's actually in your blind spot and driving the behavior underneath the surface. And step 3 is take ownership. Now, ownership is not about blame or fault. It means that you are brutally clear, but you're a part that belongs to you. Because that's the part you actually have power over to change. And this phase can create some of the hugest aha moments for people right off the bat. Because suddenly, things that haven't been working and what they've been doing for years finally starts to make sense. And now when you know that, you're like, okay, now I know that. Now I know what to do, right? And now the confidence starts to rise. So instead of asking, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? You can start to ask, what's driving this? And what can I do differently? How can I be different? That is clarity. Because you can't change what you can't see. So once you see it, though, awareness isn't enough. Now you need the courage to actually do something different. So phase 2 is courage. And so if we continue on, step 4 is to regulate your emotions. You learn how to recognize when you're triggered, to be able to slow down those automatic reactions, and to regulate yourself so that your emotions don't take over or control you. Step 5 is communicate with courage. And this is where we work on how to confidently communicate and listen, and why boundaries create respect. And learning how to express what you need without feeling weak, getting defensive, or shutting down. And step 6 is become an emotional leader. This is about learning to lead yourself first, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your reactions, your energy, everything. Because real emotional leadership isn't about controlling someone else or their emotions. It's about having the courage and the confidence to lead yourself, to have the emotional discipline, and learning how to emotionally regulate. And when you can combine that courage with the clarity you've already developed, we can begin to go to work on what most of you ultimately want and came for. And that is connection. So phase 3. So in this phase, this is where we do all the work this is where we do all the work you've been doing internally, and we start to bring that out into the relationship. So now we're working on the external piece. So step 7 is rebuild the trust. We work on creating the consistency, the integrity, accountability, and then creating how to create emotional safety. Number 8 is restore friendship. Because underneath a strong romantic relationship is always a strong friendship foundation. We work on rebuilding the trust and the respect and the appreciation and the communication and expectations and the feeling and experience that you're both on the same team again. And step 9 is deepen connection. And this is the fun part where we start to create more emotional connection and affection and fun and vulnerability and intimacy and partnership. And I want to be clear, this isn't about manipulating your partner to give you more love or sex. This is about becoming someone who can create the conditions where genuine connection and attraction can grow. So clarity helps you see, the courage helps you change, and the connection helps you create the intimacy and the love that you want. So now the question is this kind of program actually right for you? and what makes this program different. So think of it as a relationship and leadership training and coaching, implementation, accountability, personal growth, all rolled up into one. It's like it's like an all-in-one system. So let me show you the support that I've built in to make sure that you succeed. So for 12 weeks, I'm going to teach you the tools, the skills, and strategies you need to create a healthier, stronger, more connected relationship, starting with the relationship with yourself. You'll discover what's been missing, and you'll finally understand what she's been trying to tell you all along. And now that you have me to help you translate and explain all of that to you, it will make so much more sense. You have a clear pathway or a blueprint that builds each week that keeps you accountable. And you'll also receive practical exercises and worksheets to help you apply this to your life. And listen, you don't have to do this alone. You have a community of like-minded men who are doing the work and there to support each other along the way. Now, you might be wondering, so Jeanell, what happens after the 12 weeks? What if I still need help? So on top of that, you'll also get another 3 months of one-on-one coaching with me. So that's 3 monthly private sessions with me to go to work on whatever there is left to go to work on. And we can work through whatever is coming up in your life quickly. And here's the most exciting part for me, because I'm a big nerd. At the end of the program, you will receive your very own personalized relationship playbook. Think of this as your own personal relationship instruction manual. It'll bring together everything that you've learned over those 6 months, your personality, your patterns, your triggers, your goals, your challenges, and your vision for your life into one beautiful, professional looking book that I will put together for you so that you have something to come back to remind you in those moments when you're feeling triggered and confused and thinking, what the hell do I do here? You have something to look at. It's kind of like your own little Bible. So how cool is that, right? I'm super excited and actually got this idea because I was speaking to a client who I hadn't talked to in 6 months. And I was like, how are you doing? She's like, I'm doing great. I still have my little Jeanell Bible. She's like, I call it the WWJD. I was like, what's that? She's like, it's the What Would Jeanell Do Bible. And she's, and I refer to it all the time. And it actually got me thinking. I was like, oh, that's actually a really great idea. So this is a gift, a bonus that I'll be giving all of you. Because when you leave the program, I'm really committed that those changes that you want to make stay. So here we go. Based on what I've shown you, having the clear roadmap, the tools, the accountability, and the support to help you along the way. Would this be valuable to you? Could you see how this might help? If yes, put a thumbs up in the chat. Thank you. Thank you guys. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So I believe that I've created a fail-proof way for you to get what you want, the love that you want, as long as you are willing to show up and do the work. So for those of you that are interested in joining our program, here are the dates and times. We'll be meeting Tuesdays starting September 22nd, and it'll be completing around mid-December. And the start time is 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time or 9 p.m. Eastern. And then after that, the next cohort will be starting in January and will likely be a Monday or a Thursday earlier in the day. So if this initial date and time doesn't work for you, you have another option. And you can still get the special pricing if you put down a $100 deposit to save your spot. But the pricing will be going up, just so you know. And in addition to the weekly calls, I'll also be making myself available on Sundays for anyone who would like extra support or has more questions. And those calls will be happening at 1 p.m. Pacific time. It'll just be a pretty casual space if you weren't able to make it on the call, or maybe you were on the call and you just, wanted to run something past me. You can jump on this. I'm here for you guys all the way. So would that make a difference for you, having a second call, a second opportunity to talk? Give me a thumbs up. Yes. So that's another value added bonus I forgot to mention in that slide. And I think it's because I just ran out of space, but that is also included. So the total value of this program is well over $9,000 in value. And the cost to join the 6-month Relationship Rebuild Blueprint program is just $3,000. But because this is the launch of this men's program, I'm going to do something special for the first group of 10. And yes, it is intentionally kept no more than a group of 10 so that everyone feels supported and safe and they get the attention they need. So for those first 10 men, here's my special offer. For the first 10 men who join, the launch investment is only $19.97. Yes, that is over $1,000 off the regular price. For 6 months of ongoing support, plus all the bonuses I mentioned earlier. And we also have a payment plan if that works better for you. So the question is, what would meaningful change in your life be worth to you? Would it be worth to feel confident instead of confused and frustrated all the time? To know that you can finally handle conflict instead of repeating the same old arguments? To finally feel reconnected to your partner, to feel like a team again? And to know that you have done everything within your power to become the man, the husband, the partner, the father that you've always wanted to be. Because listen, we invest in all kinds of things, but there aren't many investments that have the potential to impact our life like this. Your family, your confidence, your peace, and the person you want to become. And everything has a cost, not doing anything and staying the same, staying stuck in the same old you, that has a cost. Feeling disconnected and alone, that has a cost too. But, I also want you to feel confident about saying yes, which is why I created my no regrets promise. So my commitment to you is that I'm going to show up and give you everything I got. I'm going to give you all the tools, all the strategies, the advice and the frameworks that you need, starting to help you strengthen the relationship, starting with yourself. And I'm going to challenge you, just so you know, to go beyond your comfort zone and what you think you know about yourself and your relationships. I'm going to be here to support you when you feel lost, confused, hopeless, and frustrated. And I'm going to ask you to show up for yourself and do the work so you can actually build up these mental muscles and to give yourself a real opportunity to create a life worth living and a life worth remembering, a legacy worth remembering. So here's my promise, no regrets. You will leave this program knowing that you did everything you possibly could. And I'm going to take even more risk out of that decision for you as well. So you always also have a 14-day money back satisfaction guarantee. It's quite simple. Come join the program. Show up for the first 2 weeks. Do the work. And if you genuinely feel that this just isn't the right fit for you, let us know and we'll refund your investment. Simple as that. So you have 2 weeks to experience the program and decide for yourself and explore what's possible. So there you guys have it. So you might be asking, what's the next step? Well, if you know you definitely want to join the program and you'd like to take advantage of this limited time offer, your next step is to book a relationship strategy call with me so that we can talk about your goals and challenges and determine if this program is right for you. So we're going to drop the booking link here in the chat, and you can just book a call with me there. And if you feel like I'm the right person to help and support you, but you prefer a private one-on-one structure or something else, I invite you to book a call with me too. And if you have any additional questions about what we covered in today's session, including the barriers to love model or the peace trap, or just have questions about the program, I invite you to join me tomorrow for a live Q&A. Bring your questions, and we're going to be meeting with the same place, same time, same link that you joined today. And we'll be dropping that link again in the chat in case you need it. But it should be in your calendar. So imagine, what if you had more calm and peace in your life? If you had more energy instead of being always tired? What if you had the clarity about what you want, who you are, and why you are the way you are? And the confidence in knowing your truth and being able to set boundaries that create respect and appreciation. And best of all, the courage and the freedom to be yourself and know your worth. So I wanted to share something that one of my clients had posted on Google reviews, because I thought this was really cool. So this 5-star review is for the men reading this, knowing they're wrestling with inner complexities and resisting societal molds. Jeanell is the truth. For years, I knew I could achieve a new level of progress by working through some of my old thought processes while unlocking some new ones. And ultimately, I grappled with the idea of seeking assistance, fearing it would compromise my sense of manhood and do me no good, as my level of comfort and trust outside of my circle would never allow me to speak in anything but half-truths to a stranger. Fast forward 4 months later, I am writing this as the strongest mental version of myself that I've ever been. I'm on a different continent and well on my way to accomplishing all my goals I've set for myself. And I owe a large part of that to Jeanell's mentorship. Thank you, Jeanell. You're not just a coach. You're the confidant and the big sister I never knew I needed. I love it. And there's so many more if you guys want to check out. Thank you for the hearts. Check out my Google reviews. You'll see a lot more there. So before we finish, I just want to say thank you for being here, for taking the time, for giving me your attention. And I want you to remember this. You are not alone. It's not your fault. You're not broken. And you just needed to learn a few tools. And I know that when you do have these tools, that you can make anything happen, whatever that is in your relationship. So I want you to think about, what changes are you committed to making? My request is that you take some sort of action from here instead of just forgetting about it and leaving like, that was nice. Do something, please. How can you move one step closer to the man you want to become? Can you pause instead of react? Can you just listen instead of defending? And can you have that conversation that you've been avoiding and make a different choice next time? And that is how change happens, one courageous moment at a time.